Well, this is nothing if not a lovely memorial. Kimmy Schlatt's dimensionality and richness in character is something we can all learn from. It's been almost 2 weeks, you know. The first 48 hours are the most critical point in time during a missing person case, though the only reporting to police if missing for 3 days is a pervasive enough myth that allowed for a trail to grow slightly colder than it may normally. In Kimmy Schlatt's notoriously large social group, combined with her tardiness and inability to pin her in certain locations, even during a normal school day, before she went missing, also aids in the struggle to create a timeline for our future milk carton mascot. Well, missing, soon to be presumed dead. Though she'd have to be officially missing for 7 years and unrecognized by all familiar channels to be dead in the legal turn of the phrase, if we're only speaking on a technical basis. Though, based on our history, I can assume not. I think it's only polite to begin ushering these individuals to a necessary conclusion they need to reach before the media circus grows to be bigger and bigger than it needs to be. I'm not even saying that for our own sakes as victims of her wrath. I'm speaking purely from a narrative perspective. She's not prom queen. She's not horribly maligned or bullied. She's not popular, but she's not unpopular. There's no gritty story about her nights as an underage stripper or a college boy toy that she's hoping to run off with. The biggest story that could be found here is her obsession with you. But I suppose they just aren't looking hard enough if they haven't found it yet. They may even never attempt to reveal it in order to keep her image as pristine as it needs to be for her to be a sympathetic victim. The Jane Doe, the Laura Palmer, the Abigail Hobbs for the modern folk. The lamb drawn to the slaughter, never the tender meat who knew that everyone would assume that the bloodshed would be her own. Let's face it. We're grieving for the death, not for the life stolen from you. There's a level of nuance to the superficial agony we all must face. But I can only hope that the acts I committed in your name were not done so in vain. Is the agony still a tender wound, or has the pain long since subsided? Do you think you're still being followed? Or with Kimmy Schlatt out of the frame, is your life going back to the picture perfect it once was? Any more break-ins? Any weird notes? Stolen bed sheets or something of that ilk? Well, isn't that a small comfort in such a scary time like this? An air of unease might still permeate the school's atmosphere, but I'd say we can almost rest easy with this kind of knowledge. A life in exchange for 2 others to survive. I'd say that the ends justify the means in a case like this. Wouldn't you? Oh, what would you call it then? When her presence greatly reduced the quality of our lives, when her pushy insistence would lead her to standing outside your house in the near dead of night, when her bullying and harassment had escalated to a point of property damage and had no reason not to continue its trajectory until it reached its natural breaking point of breaking me. Totally, completely, and utterly. When her bullying and harassment had escalated to property damage and had no reason not to continue its trajectory until it reached its natural breaking point of breaking me, totally and utterly, completely? What would you quantify human life to be worth to begin with? Is it worth my happiness? Is it worth your peace of mind? Is it worth both of our relative safety in the grand scheme of things? Would it be better to wait until this transaction was stacked in the favors we should choose? Or are we simply just fine for cutting Kimmy Schlatt down in her prime? I sound charged. Do I? Do I? I'll admit, I normally don't put myself on the front lines in situations like this. I'm a researcher, an observer. I stand off, adjacent to the action, and I keep track of it. I record it. I recite it. I repeat it. I interpret it. I do not participate. I do not act. And I am fine with that. Well, mostly fine with that. I like this state of neutrality I live my life in. I like being able to process my life and emotional capacities in post-haste. I like the way I live. I like the objectivist philosophy I carry with it in post-haste. It's how I'm supposed to be. It's how I've always been. But this, all of this, well, my mind, my body has considered this all something of a confidence boost, as it were. I want nothing more than a list of facts of the occasion, to be able to quantify these recent events into a numerical value. I want an objective answer more than anything. But I have no idea what that would look like. Would it be how many nights Kimmy Schlatt spent standing outside your window? The amount of time in the unit of hours she spent curled up in your bed? The hundreds of dollars in property damage? Could I put it on a line graph? Would it look better on a chart? Could I write a thesis on it? Could I cite primary sources? Could I dot the T's and cross the I's necessary to make a tragic act of happenstance warranted in its severity? Could I objectively prove that the punishment fit the crime when this just so happens to be the very event that shadowed the lens of mine? The only closure we have is the kind we make for ourselves. And you only grieve the death, not the life stolen from you. Because it was never about her. It was about you. I mean, it's about you. In the sense that I've made peace with what had to be done to keep us safe and secure and happy and alive. But closure is something that you have to find for yourself. I can give you the facts. I can tell you my feelings on it here and there, but I can't find the conclusion for you. This isn't a thesis, no matter how much easier it would be if it was. Regardless, I feel a memorial is in order. I think the bouquet is an especially nice touch. Red roses, white lilies, a few sprouts of wild lavender I picked from my own secret garden on the way to school this morning, and some goldenrod. I understand if you need to stick close, though, through these difficult and tumultuous times, no matter how conflicted you may feel. Just know that I'll always be here for you. with a shoulder to cry on and a hand to do your bidding by. All you have to do is say the word. Kidding! I kid, don't I? Don't I?